Hey everybody, this is Hillary from Rock Camp SLC, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your PA system. If you borrowed a PA from Rock Camp, you probably got one of these Yamaha Stage Pass PA systems. They're really easy to set up, and I'm going to walk you through starting at just getting the cables out. So on the back of one of these speakers, you'll see that there's just a door that's flat, and at the top there's a little lever that you push, and inside there is your cables. So it's got a power cable, speaker cables, and an auxiliary cable so you can play music through your PA. So we're going to want to get these out, and then you can just go ahead and put this little door back on the back of your speaker. On the second speaker is where we've got our mixer. So I'll turn this around for you, and it's just in here so you can easily move the speaker anywhere you need to. But when we use this, we actually want to have this mixer out. So at the top there's this little gray lever. If you just slide that to the side, the mixer just pops out just like this. So I'm going to show you how to power this on and get our speakers connected. Alright, so I've got my mixer just on a flat surface. I have a little table that I like to keep this on. You can put it on the floor, just put it somewhere where it's not going to fall off easily, and somewhere where you can get to it easily during band practice. The first thing we want to do is connect it to power. So you'll notice here, this is where it gets plugged in. So with the cables that you got, find the cable that has an end like this, and an end like this, and we're going to go ahead and just plug it in right here. And we're going to take this other end and plug it into your wall or into a power strip. And let's just test the power, make sure it's working. This is the power button right here. And you'll see this little green light come on right here. This kind of mixer, all of the power comes from this mixer right here. So that means the power to run the speakers comes through here. You might be able to hear that little fan noise that kicked on. That's cooling down this. So it's good to keep this in a well-ventilated area. Again, don't leave it connected to the back of the speaker or it won't have a lot of room to breathe. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect our speakers. So you should have gotten some speaker cables that have ends that look like this. They just plug right in here to the red ends. So you're going to plug in one. I like to kind of put that around to the back, get it out of the way, and then you're going to plug the other one in right here. I've got my other speaker cable, so it's just going to go in here. And again, I kind of just like to push these around to the back so that they're not in the way here. And we're going to show you how to connect the other end of these cables into the back of the speaker. It's important to note too that not all speaker cables are red like this. This is another speaker cable. If you've borrowed one from Rock Camp, it's probably got these red cables, but a cable like this will also work. So plug it in here, and the other end is going to get plugged into the speaker. Alright, so I've got my speaker up on a pole stand here. You can put your speakers on the floor, you can put them on a table to make them up a little bit higher. If you don't have anywhere to put your speakers, we can loan you a couple of these stands. Next thing you want to do is we're going to connect the speaker to the cable that we just plugged into the mixer. So the other end of this cable just goes right here. I'm going to spin that around on the pole, and we're going to give it a try. So now that we have our speakers plugged in and our power is on, I'm going to talk about what some of these other knobs do. Most mixers have an overall volume or a master volume. On this mixer, this red knob right here, it says master right here, this is our master volume. So what it does is it turns up the volume of the overall system. This red color here matches this red color here, so it helps it make it easy to remember that this knob is turning up the speakers that we have plugged in. So I usually start with turning this up to maybe about like 30%. But before I plug anything in, I like to just have the volume down all the way. Each of these along here are what we call channels. So this one that says 1 is channel 1. A channel will typically have an input at the top. It'll have sometimes EQ knobs, so this is high, mids, lows, kind of similar to your car stereo. You can turn up the bass if you want, turn up the highs. I like to keep these all pretty much centered. On my mixer, these first 4 channels come with a reverb, and that's just an effect that you can add by turning these up. So, like I said, I like to keep everything turned down when I'm very first starting to use a mixer. What we're going to do first is check and make sure that we have sound coming out of the overall speakers, the main speakers. This input number 9/10 has a little auxiliary input right here where I can plug in a cell phone and play some music. It also has these 1/4 inch inputs, but for this what we're going to use is this 1/8 inch input right here. You want to grab a cable that's an 1/8 inch little auxiliary cable, plug it in. The other end of that cable gets plugged into a cell phone or an iPhone, iPad. and then I'm going to hit play. So you can pull up Spotify, pull up something, and hit play. We don't have any sound. Why not? I don't know. Let's try to figure that out. So it's obviously playing on my phone, and I've got my volume on my phone. You can see my media volume is turned up. So that's good news, but I'm still not hearing anything. What we want to do first is turn up our master volume, maybe about 30%, 30 to 40%, right about here. And then we're going to slowly turn up our auxiliary volume. You can start to hear it. So you can see as I turn it up and down, that is controlling the volume here. A common problem is having this up and this turned down. And no matter how much you turn this up, if this is turned down, you're not going to hear anything. So that's a good troubleshooting tip right off the bat, is make sure that your master volume is up and then turn this up. Now you'll also notice over here, there's these little LED lights, and that kind of tells me where I'm at volume-wise. The green, -20, -6 decibels, 0 is yellow, +3, +6, and then red means that we're clipping. Clipping means basically that the speaker is getting too much of an input, and you could blow your speaker that way. So notice as I turn this up, there's no lights on, and then this light will start to blink as it gets louder. So I can get pretty loud with this, and the only light that comes on is this bottom one. You'll see as you start to use this mixer, different instruments have different levels as they come in. You never want to be hitting this red. If you're hitting the red, it's too loud. You'll want to turn down the volume on the channel and sometimes your master volume as well. The first instrument that we're going to plug in is a microphone. So you'll notice these inputs here look like kind of a face with an open mouth, these two. And then these two are a little bit different. What these are all XLR inputs, and an XLR cable has one end that looks like this. See how those match? And the other end that looks like this. So obviously these pins will go into here. These two right here actually work as XLR, so you can plug an XLR into them. That works. But they also work as 1/4-inch instrument inputs. So you can take a 1/4-inch instrument cable, like for your keyboard, and you can also plug it in here. You'll notice the first two can't be used with a 1/4-inch. They can only be used with an XLR. So we're going to start by taking our microphone, and you'll notice here it's got those 3 pins. So we're going to plug in those 3 pins to the end of the XLR. That's an input, like that. And then the other end of this cable is, make sure you've got it oriented and turned the right way, but it's just going to plug in right here. So now I've got a microphone in my hand. Some microphones will have a little switch to turn off and on. This one doesn't, but make sure you check to see if it has a switch. My master volume is turned on, or like I said, 30%. When I talk into my microphone, check, you're not hearing anything out of the PA. So I'm going to slowly turn up this channel 1. Remember, this volume goes with this input, and I'm going to put the microphone by my mouth and slowly turn up, check, 1, 2, check, and you'll see over here this little green button starting to flash when I talk. So if I get really loud and I turn this up really loud, you can see it's starting to get into the -6 too. So you want to make sure that this is not too loud. As you start to play with your band, you'll figure out where it needs to be for everyone to be able to hear. But again, make sure you're not clipping over here. And if it gets so loud that you're getting some feedback, you're going to want to turn that down too. So I'm on right now with my microphone. Now the volume's totally off. Check. Turn it up and down. So now we've got a microphone. All right, so the next thing I want to plug in is a keyboard, and most keyboards have a 1/4-inch input on the back of them. Sometimes it says phone, sometimes it says mono out, but this is the cable, a 1/4-inch cable. This is a standard instrument cable you could use for a bass or a guitar. It also is used for keyboards. So you notice it won't go into this XLR, so we're going to skip this one. If your band has a second microphone, second person who wants to sing backup vocals, go ahead and plug in another microphone there. But I'm going to choose this as my input for the keyboard. As you notice, it's turned all the way down. I've got this end plugged in. There's a little switch here that says mic and line. When it's up, it's for a microphone. When it's down, it's for a line. Microphones and lines send different amounts of signal. And so for this one, I want to make sure I have this pressed down to know it's a line coming in. I'm going to take the other end of this cable and plug it into my keyboard. We'll turn on the keyboard and see how it sounds. We'll slowly turn it up. So on my third channel, I've got my 1/4" cable here. The other end of this is over off screen onto connected to the keyboard. And I have my keyboard volume up to about 75%. And this volume is totally down. So I'm hitting keys, even though you can't see my hand, I promise I am. I'm going to slowly turn up this knob. You can start to hear the piano, the keyboard. So we've got that about where we want it. You can always go up. If you get about like 75%, 9 or 10 here, and it's still not loud enough, let's go back down, and then we can turn up our master volume a little bit and then slowly turn this up, because you want to make sure that you're not blowing the speaker and getting too loud, but you want to make sure everybody in the band can hear the keyboard. Beautiful. All right, so for a typical band setup, this is pretty much what you want. Vocals and keyboard coming through your mixer. You also want an auxiliary cord, so if your band wants to play along to the Rock Camp song or other songs, you can play along with it here. There are some other options of things to plug in. Most of you, if you have a bass player in your band, guitar player, they should have their own amplifiers. So they're just going to plug directly into their own amp. If the amp is really small and you can't hear them playing, you can technically plug a bass into here. You can plug guitar into here, anything that's a 1/4" input. So if you need to for your band so that everyone can hear each other, feel free to plug those instruments directly in here. The reason that basses and guitars have their own amps is so that you can get a better sound. So when you're playing live, when you're recording, things like that, of course you're going to want to use an amp. But just for practice sake, so people can hear each other, you can go direct in with your bass and guitar.